You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Hello, I'm Stephen Willis from the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, and I'm joined by Josh Guest like I am every week. He tells me and talks to me about what is going on around Oxford, Mississippi, and around the Ole Miss program as somebody that lives nearby. So how you doing, Josh?
Doing well, Stephen.
Pretty good. It's double-decker weekend.
It is. And, my wife and I will often, by the way, you say we live here. We live in Taylor, work in Oxford. My wife doesn't. She works in Grenada. But we do often come into town and walk around campus. And this week we did that. And this is that patented week, if you've ever spent time in Oxford, where all the people on campus are taking their pictures for graduation, whether it be in some sort of nice attire or a cap and gown or both. And they have hired their photographer or they got their friends out there. And so we went out this week and probably saw 150 Ole Miss students around the circle, the Grove, around campus. We walked from one end to the other. We walked from the baseball stadium side of campus all the way across to the old ROTC education building. I think it's education now. It used to be ROTC or something, and then, which is almost to the old mall, and then back across campus. And there were just people everywhere. So it's that time of year. It was a pretty day. It was about 68 degrees and a little breezy and sunny. Perfect day to go for a walk. That's a perfect day in Florida too, I would think. It's a perfect day anywhere. But, it's just that time of the year. We're in the middle of final exams for online here at Northwest. We got traditional finals next week. Community college has a kind of a MSVCC, so sometimes the online final week's not the same as the other, but that's what's going on. So it's been kind of hectic for me at work, but man, it's been a great week in Oxford just with the weather. And then I'm just glad the concert's over with so that we can get back to some normal traffic.
Yes, and 68 degrees, by the way, in Florida. That's normal January weather.
Yeah.
So
just make me jealous.
Yeah. So the transfer portal is clicking along pretty well. We'll talk about Lane Kiffin to start off with, then we'll go to Chris Beard. But Jacory, Croskey, Merritt from New Mexico, this player committed over about a week ago. Henry Parrish committed it as well. And this is a pretty interesting thing because Ole Miss has had visitors on campus even after the fact. And today being Thursday, there's Dylan Edwards news and smoke and things just popping up all over the place as well. I think that Ole Miss is just looking at all the running backs.
I guess so, Stephen. I mean, you keep talking about filling a role and not a hole, and we want the big bruising back, but this guy's not as big as he is. Trent Howland's a little bit bigger guy, and he would fill that role. But the Dylan Edwards from Colorado, right? Yeah, there he is. Is a little different. He's more on the Percy Harvin and Dexter McCluster side of things.
Yeah, he's about 5'9", 170 pounds, I believe. He is the opposite of a thumper. I said that Ole Miss needed a thumper. I've been on that for several weeks. He's the opposite of a thumper.
Well, he can just squeeze through the hole. Doesn't have to be much of a hole. He can just fit right through it and go right on. And look, I glanced right over it. You said double decker. I want to go back real quick. We are going to go to double decker, Stephen. We're going to go hang out. We're going to catch some games against Alabama, and then we're going to miss one of those because the high school team, the local high school team that my son's on, has some playoff games Friday night. So we'll miss the middle game and get to miss Doyle. I'm assuming he's going to pitch the middle game. But yes, we are doing this. I didn't want to go. I wanted to go back and pick that up. But yes, all these running backs and another. I mean, kind of surprised. I was actually surprised, to be honest with you, after Croskey, help me out.
Croskey Merritt.
Yeah, I started to say that. And I was like, it's not wrong. It's not right. Croskey Merritt committed that Henry Parrish would not, and then he does, and then not only he does, but then this Colorado back pops up, and we seem to be in the game for that, unless we're being fed some misinformation. So it's just interesting. I would have thought at this point we would be big back hunting, and that might be it as far as the running backs go. But I guess I think I'm going to get you to campus and you compete for spots.
Yeah, Dylan Edwards, I wouldn't count him as a running back, honestly. I count him as an athlete or an offensive weapon. I think he's more of a threat to Caden Lee and Jordan Watkins than Jacory Croskey. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think he's going to line up in the backfield some. If he comes to Ole Miss, they're going to put him at slot. They're going to run jet sweeps with him. They could do a whole lot of different things, but he is not a traditional back like Trent Howland would be, like Henry Parrish is, like Jacory Croskey Merritt is. But I think it's hilarious because he does have an RB on the current roster where he is beside his name. It's going to pop up as a fourth running back.
Yeah.
Interesting indeed. Anyway, when we come back, I will let everybody know exactly what's going on the basketball side of things, because Chris Beard's working as well. But first of all, I want to let you know, we've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime and the scoreboard is not looking good. You're feeling low, not feeling if your team can pull out a win. That's when you dig deep, lift up your head and say to yourself, it's time to get back in this game, pull off some bank heist, and take as much of my friends' money as I possibly can. That's right. The smash hit mobile game, Monopoly Go, lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly that you love, but on your phone, anytime and anywhere, with a ton of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress with your buddies. There's so much to do. There's dynamic Monopoly boards. You can play on the moon if you wanted to. You can make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with a wrecking ball, charge other players rent for your iconic properties. You can even work with your friends to crack open community chests. And you can do it in tournament to get extra rewards and climb up the leaderboards. So get back out there, put on your game face, and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's guaranteed fit, it's always guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's guaranteed fit is only available to U.S. customers. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that screaming and shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you each and every single day to bring you the biggest stories without all of that shouting. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, Josh, Lane Kiffin had a good week in the transfer portal and all that. The portal king this week. But Chris Beard is about 5 commitments deep in about the last 10 days, including Sean Padula, who committed, I guess that was Wednesday he committed, and he is a true point guard. Basically what happened last year, this is my opinion on this. Ole Miss had no inside game. The bigs could not score the basketball. They were basically just occupying space, stealing air. They had no true point guard. You had Juju Murray doing the point guard stuff. He was not a true point guard. Now you're going to have true bigs and Michael Brown-Jones and Malik Dia and a true point guard in Sean Padula. It's pretty interesting stuff.
It is, Stephen. And anytime, it doesn't matter what sport it is, and especially the higher the level you go, but even at lower levels, if you become one-dimensional, or if only one thing works for you and it's outside shooting in basketball, or if only one thing works for you and it's whatever it is, you got one pitcher in baseball, or you got, you can only run a zone read in football, or whatever it is, then teams can eat you up. And that's what seemed to happen for us, especially, you would have thought with 2 7-footers we could have done some work, and I don't mean to knock on the guys. It's just offensively, it just didn't work. It didn't click for whatever reason. And so when teams figured it out, they could key on like Juju Murray or anybody else for that matter that got hot from the outside and just shut them down basically. And And then if somebody else didn't step up, maybe they shut down Alan Flanagan as he went to the hole. And, when he was rolling, it was good. But if the other team was able to shut him down because they didn't have to focus on the other guys. And then, defensively, I think you've said this many times, and I think even Tim Thomas talked about it, where they would just switch until they got who they wanted on our big guy and then go score. Somebody that's quicker and faster to the basket. And when they were scoring more times down the floor than we were not, that was not a recipe for winning games.
Yeah, and as you saw, I think other than Missouri, they did not win in February and March. Missouri was the only team they beat.
And Missouri was not a foregone conclusion.
No, it wasn't. It should have been, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
And really, really interesting stuff. I mean, between what Chris Beard's doing and what Coach Yo's doing as well. Like I said, I don't know the names right off the top of my head, but I did see KK Deans on their Twitter account doing some work in the gym. So that's good as another point guard. They brought in defensively. They didn't want another situation to where they didn't have a point guard next year. So now they're going to have two.
Yep. It never hurts. And promotes competition, that kind of thing as well. So, but again, we say it every time, and I'm going to keep saying it. And I know you've talked about being positive, and I tend that way myself. It's a good time to be an Ole Miss Rebel. Football, basketball, men's and women's, baseball. I know that, I love Did's optimism right now. I'm hoping that we can get a couple, but I mean, y'all, if realistically, Alabama's playing well right now. They took 2 out of 3 from Arkansas a couple of weeks ago. So, by the time this airs, it may already be ugly for us over the weekend, but I'm hoping not. I'm hoping to see the other way around.
I think the series will be over because this airs Saturday night. So I think
Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
I think the series will be over. But it's a situation, honestly. If you're watching this video and Ole Miss took less than 2 games, it's a math problem at this point.
It is.
It's a situation where you're saying, hey, you have to win a series against Texas A&M, the best team in the country.
Or sleep at Auburn and at LSU. Yeah, that's going to happen.
Yeah, it gets really hard. Right now, there's a slight path for Ole Miss to make it to the tournament, but there's no margin for error whatsoever.
No, and you mentioned that Saturday. That's our plan. We're going to get up. We're going to go to Double Decker Hangout. We're going to get some food somewhere. We're going to park and walk the whole time. Walk around town. It's great. The square is a mile from campus to baseball stadium. So we'll be over there, hit some of that, and then I think the game starts at 2 on Saturday. So we'll be at the game, I guess earlier today, and hopefully cheering the Rebels on to a dub. So, but the weather's supposed to be great. At least the last I saw. So I'm excited about it, and it's going to be a good week or weekend in Oxford.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team, every single day. Josh Guest joining us each and every week for the double-decker that happened earlier today. I hope you had a good time, buddy.
That's right. Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy.